Welcome back to another episode of Coldstream Rod Shop. I'm Derek Fraser. In this week's video, we will probably be working mostly on Ellie's coupe, but we could be working on the 33 chassis or the Camera Lady's 32 Ford chassis over in the other building. Still quite a few things to do on either one of them once we get past a couple of the hiccups. The front axle, we need to get the front axle machined down so it fits the wishbones, so we can start working on the front end. If we get that done, we'll carry on with that. A couple parts coming in for the Camera Lady's chassis. If those come in, we'll work on that. There's the fuel line work we need to do. And if not, like I said, we're going to carry on working on the door, get the door fitted in here and the gaps all adjusted, and then go on to the next bits and pieces of the bodywork. Got a couple things from last week we have to tidy up. I wasn't able to finish the bottom of the driver's side door, so I'm going to quickly finish that up. Essentially, I cut out a piece of 18 gauge metal. We've allowed for our bending radiuses in. We've marked everything out with a 3/8 inch overlap to be able to fold it over to the door. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take the cutter, whatever you want to call that thing, but we're going to cut a 45 across each corner, and then I'm going to go over on the brake. We're going to bend the edges up all the way around and get it ready to put on the bottom of the driver's side door. So on the Camera Lady's 32 Ford chassis, we wanted to run a few more things like the emergency brake cables and the fuel lines and kind of get all of the stuff done on the chassis before we put the body on it. There's no fun doing it upside down. Some of the things we've built and run before, for example, we did build the exhaust before. The exhaust headers are ceramic coated. We took them out to a shop and they were stainless steel, and we got them ceramic coated, so they're going to last a long time. Now the exhaust system is just your regular aluminum coated carbon steel. I've used it before on the Model A here. It's in excess of 10 years old right now. We still don't have anything rusted through or any issues with it. Stainless steel obviously would last a lot longer, but the carbon steel stuff will last a long time, more than likely the life of what we're going to use the car. But if not, I can always make another one if I have to. But right now, what I did, I took the carbon steel aluminum coated exhaust. I wire wheeled it from top to bottom. Made sure I got around any of the welds and really cleaned it up down to bare metal, any of the oxides off, and then I painted it with header paint, some very high temperature header paint that you can buy at the automotive shops. I'll let that dry for 24 hours. Now it'll finish curing once the engine is running, but right now it's dry. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the exhaust on, because I don't want to run the other lines like the e-brake cables and the fuel lines without the exhaust being in place, because we know where that's going to be. I want to run the e-brake cables and the fuel lines away from the exhaust. So this is the next step in the assembly process, is getting the exhaust all put on the car. So we're over here working away on the Camera Lady's chassis. Got the rest of the exhaust in. Like I said, one of the things I want to do right now is try and get everything done to the chassis that I can before you work on the body. The body doesn't need a tremendous amount of work, but it should be going over to the other shop I guess within the next 2 or 3 weeks. Just have to get some work out of there. But in the meantime, everything I can do to the chassis, I'm doing before I get to that stage. So right now, we've got the exhaust pipes in, the mufflers, the tailpipes in. We chose to have the tailpipes exit on an angle in the back. Now I know some people will exit them here by the back wheel, and a lot of people will put them straight out the back underneath the gas tank. Over on the 32 Ford pickup, we did them straight out the back underneath the gas tank. On the Model A here, we did them straight out the back right there. But I just kind of wanted to do something different. I saw back in the 70s and the 80s, people would actually do an exit like 45 degrees just out past the rear tire, just to be a little different. And then one thing, if you were watching previous videos, you would have seen that we put some cutouts underneath the doors here. They are functional. We probably won't use them. It's more or less more for looks, because we want to have that kind of early hot rod kind of a look to the car. And we thought it'd be kind of cool to do that. Tell me what you think. Anyways, everything is bolted in right now for the exhaust. The other thing I wanted to do was start plumbing some of the gas line. Now, I don't do well sometimes doing the flare nuts on steel lines for brakes. Done a lot of plumbing work, but I struggle with that. I kind of really like the braided lines. They're really easy to put on. They look good. I know they're not 50s and 60s kind of period correct, but I'm gonna go, we'll bend a couple rules here. We've got an alternator on it already, so we're gonna use their braided stainless 6AN stainless steel lines. So I've got it going from the carburetor down to the mechanical fuel pump, and then I'm gonna run the line there from the fuel pump all the way back. I've already pre-drilled a hole down here so that I can put a bracket, because I don't have access to drilling a hole for a clamp. One thing though, I've struggled putting some of the, and I've done a video on this before, when you put these little pieces on the line, hopefully I got enough two hands here, I'll put between my knees, there we go. So this piece usually has to push on to the end of the braided line. Now, one thing I noticed, there's a couple different styles. There's this style here that I got from a company called Evil Energy. It actually screws on. It's got a counter-rotating thread, or a left-hand thread on the inside. So basically, you just, I won't be able to do it here because I haven't set the camera up. You just push it on here and turn it backwards, and it'll push itself onto the line, which is fantastic. The other brand I was using before, this brand here, you basically have to push this thing over the top of the stainless steel line, and it kind of pushes it back and makes a mess of things. So I'd recommend, I'm not getting endorsed by these guys. They don't pay for anything or anything like that. But this brand here I was getting off of Amazon. You can go direct from them and that. It's really easy to put it on. So once you put that piece on the stainless steel line, here, I'll pause the camera for a second. So there, I've screwed that on. Trying to focus on there, but it went on in a couple seconds. It didn't clump up any of the stainless steel lines. Went on really good. The next step is to take this piece, and I just put 1 or 2 drops of oil on the end of this, and I'm going to put it in a vise over there. I'll show you in a second. Right there. So I put a little bit of masking tape around the base, squeeze it in my vise here, put a couple drops into it, and then I threaded this in. Now, I did invest in one of these aluminum wrenches, because if you use steel wrenches and don't clean them up good, you'll leave a lot of marks on the aluminum. So given the number of times that I've done some of these lines, I invested in one of these, and it doesn't leave any marks if you're careful. You can use the steel ones, but what I find is I have to take the steel wrenches and file the faces and make sure they're super clean. But with a couple drops of oil, that will just thread in there just like that. I may have to stop the camera again as I get it a little tighter in there. But I should be able to do that with one hand. There we go. Working almost all the way. Come up tight. Should come up tight. Yep, there it is right there. So that's it, and there shouldn't be any marks. So I'll take that out. I'll take the masking tape off of it. That line will now attach to here, and I'm going to run it all along the inside of the frame, put some clamps onto it, and then eventually this is going to, well, it's going to go all the way up over to this cross member and come over to where the gas tank is. But for now, we're just going to run it and have it ready for when I can get the gas tank ready. So anyways, I'm going to carry on with a few more little bits and pieces here, and we're going to keep pushing the Camber Ladies chassis ahead, step by step. I decided tonight I was going to work on the 33 Ford chassis for the 5-window coupe. We got the axle machine down, got all the parts painted. Decided to dummy things together because what we want to do is assemble the axle, just take the spring apart, put the leaf into it, and what I'll do is I'll attach it with spring shackles, and then what I'll be able to do is then determine where the end of the split wishbones are going to fit up alongside of the frame. Because what we have to do, there will be no adjustment on these, unlike with the hairpins that we would use on a lot of the other cars, or 4-bars. You can adjust the angle of the axle. Pretty much when we put this in, it's going to be set at that 5 to 7 degrees. So what I want to be able to do is hook everything up, compress the single leaf on the spring so that the axle is at the ride height, and then adjust where we're going to attach the back of the split wishbones to the frame. But we came to a little bit of a snag here, unfortunately. It looks as though we picked, or we got, or whatever, the spring is too wide. Now there's two different width springs. I'm just going to pop over to the other garage and I'll show you the two different widths, because we do have two different widths. They just don't belong to this particular customer. So right here are two front springs that are commonly used. One's around 27 inches and the other one is around 31. These are the two common widths. I would normally just go use this one, but like I said, this particular spring belongs to my friend that owns the other Roadster body over there. And the 33 Ford belongs to another friend. What I'll do, I'll reach out to him. No doubt he has another spring sitting in his shop. He's got plenty of parts. Once we get that spring, then we'll go back to finish fitting the front end on his car. What I'm going to do now, the last, I guess, major metal work we have to do on Ellie's coupe is actually fitting this panel on the bottom of the door. There is some other metal work we have to do for fixing the chop, but as far as actually making replacement panels, this is the last one. The driver's or the passenger side door, he's actually quite mechanically inclined himself. So we gave him the door. He's cleaning it up, sandblasting it on the inside, and then trying to fit the window regulator and the door latch mechanism. Has to find some, I think, quarter 28 and 12/24 slotted screws to go along with it. So he's working on that. So what we're going to do now, we're going to work on this. I'm going to try and get that panel on there before the end of the video. Once that's done and cleaned up, then he's going to take that door and do the same thing. So I know it's a repetition from last week, but follow along and we're going to get the bottom of this door panel on. So that's it for another week of Coldstream Rod Shop. I was really hoping to get this finished, ground, and hammered, but time ran out of me again. We didn't get as much video coverage this week as I would have liked to, but had to take a day or two off in between, and also got sidetracked a few times, but that's the way it goes sometimes. But at least we've got the panel on the door. I'll be able to grind this off and hammer it like I did the other one, and we'll get the major metal work done on Ellie's Coupe. Really wanted to basically tack in the front end on the 33 frame, but unfortunately, like I described earlier, grabbed the wrong width spring. So I'm sure that we can fix that up next week, and we'll get on to doing that. And then we get a few things done on the Camera Ladies chassis as well, so we're kind of inching that along. So anyways, that's it for this week of Coldstream Rod Shop. Hope you enjoyed. Please like, share, tag, and subscribe. Come on back next week and see what we're up to. Everybody take care and have a great week.